Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and it's time to talk about the latest episode of Batwoman Season 2. This one was called Time Off for Good Behavior, and it was a pretty good episode, thankfully. The first thing about it that made it a good episode is that they were back to the snakebite plot, and I think this is a good thing. Not that this plot is anything spectacular. It's sort of run-of-the-mill, it's a little cookie cutter, but it's not the crazy Alice is trying to mess everything up for no reason plot. It's better than this, let's do the thing with the island and the rose and the lesbian lady and the boyfriend and the memories are wiped and the... What? That stuff was horrible. This is good stuff. This is good, solid, if a little generic and bland, superhero show stuff. Superhero operates within a city in which there's a bad guy pushing drugs and generally screwing things up in order to maintain his hold on his drug empire. That's perfectly good superhero plot stuff. So I was glad to see that they got back to that, especially since they teased it in the beginning of the season. And especially because in this particular case, it involves Black Mask, which again is a good thing, a classic comic villain. None of this crazy, goofy, my crazy sister Alice thing. Not that she wasn't in the episode, but the show should be more about the stuff that it was about this week. So I was glad to see that they were back to the snakebite plot. Now, Batwoman in the beginning is interrogating a criminal, a miscreant, a ne'er-do-well, because she's trying to figure out who Black Mask is, because she wants to bring him down, obviously. Because don't forget, his gang was also behind the murder of the police chief. So it's not just that he's selling drugs. He's, like I said, doing things to maintain his empire. And one of those things was getting the cops off his back, or trying to. And to do that, he killed the police commissioner. So she's trying to figure out who he is. And just after she does this, she comes across a news camera that's on the scene of some event that I guess was related to whatever the criminal was doing. And after she interrogates this guy, like, who is Black Mask? She goes to the news camera and sort of makes her presence known and gets on camera and says, you know, Black Mask, I'm coming for you. And I thought that was very Batman-like, very Bruce-like. It was a very Bruce Batman thing to do. You know, I'm coming for you. Although he might not have grabbed the camera, but he was the kind of guy, you know, in the DC lore that would definitely threaten the criminal and try to put fear into them. So I thought it was great that they did that with Batwoman. Now, shortly thereafter, and I don't know that they should have done this. We'll have to see where it goes. I don't think it's necessarily a great plot line, but they started a plot line where the father is addicted now to snakebite, Kate's father. I'm talking about Kate and Mary's father. He gets grabbed and they dose him, and you know, he ends up addicted. So there's a scene where they take, and I was like, oh, they took him and dosed him. And but before we can see where that goes, we see Luke and Ryan having a conversation about, you know, what is Black Mask's problem? You know, apparently he's got a bug up his butt because his daughter died. And of course, anyone would be upset by this, but he's sort of taken it to a level where he's blaming who knows what. And Luke is saying, you know, we can't think too much about that because next week he'll be blaming Aquaman for his daughter's death. And I'm like, what is it with these CW shows lately bringing up either Atlantis or Aquaman? Like, what are they doing? Why are these references on these shows? Because we've had it on Flash and now Batwoman. So are they trying to tell us they're going to do an Aquaman show? That's been tried before. It didn't go well. I don't even think it aired. There was a pilot, and it either didn't air or it aired, and it was so bad that it never made it to beyond that very far. But anyway, the Aquaman film was very successful, and Aquaman in the DCEU, you know, cinematic version is kind of popular. So it wouldn't surprise me if they brought an Aquaman show to the CW. So I don't know, maybe that's what they're trying to lay the groundwork for. Maybe they're just laying the groundwork for something that might happen in a crossover where they end up going to Atlantis. I don't know. But they keep mentioning Atlantis and Aquaman. So we'll have to see if anything comes of that. I suspect it will. I don't suspect they're doing these things by accident or for no reason. So then we find out after this conversation that Enigma, who was introduced the last time the show was on, hypnotizes people. Her thing is she does hypnotization, probably among other things. And it seems like she's been messing with the Pennyworth character, I forget her first name, and has been erasing her memory while posing as a doctor. So that's something that's going on as well. I'm not sure why they're doing this plot. I like that they brought Enigma in. I think that's cool, but I'm not sure why this plot was introduced. And this is something that goes back to Star Trek Discovery, where they have too many plots going on at the same time. The Superman show seems to be getting into that. Now the Batwoman show is doing it, and not that it didn't do it before, but it's still doing it. I don't know. It seems more solid, this stuff that they're doing, the thing with the father, the thing with Pennyworth, than other stuff they've done in the past, so maybe it'll be okay, but I get nervous when these shows have too many plots. It makes the show very soap opera-like, and it's less straightforward that way, and you can easily lose track of the plots that are actually good. So I don't know. I hope they don't go too far down these rabbit holes. But anyway, as we were saying before, yes, Daddy is on the bite now. And he even goes to the point where someone turns in some snake bite to him and says, I found this in my facility and I'm turning it over to the police or to the crows and you can dispose of it, but he keeps it. And it turns out that, not surprisingly, he uses it to escape reality and to sort of go into a reality where Beth isn't fucked up and his wife isn't dead and Kate isn't dead and so forth and so on. Although maybe not the wife so much, but Kate and Beth, who of course is Alice, are alive and normal in these fantasies. And so you can see the attraction. And that's the real world attraction of drugs oftentimes. So it's a very true to life plot. I just don't know why, when they've got other stuff going on, I don't know. I guess it ties into the main plot, so maybe it's not so bad. I just don't know why they had to. I don't know. I suppose they have to show what the drug does and how it affects people one way or another. And this might be a good way to do it. So that's going on. But it turns out that what's happening in this episode as sort of the main B plot, because they've got A, B, C, D, or they've got B1 and B2. But anyway, the overarching plot, of course, is the snake bite thing and Black Mask and all that. That's going to continue throughout the season. This particular episode dealt with an encapsulated story that involved a corrupt official, elected official or appointed official, who was in cahoots with a greedy businessman who owned private prisons. And what he was doing, or what they were doing together, was sabotaging the youth programs in the city so that the youth would have nowhere to go to occupy themselves and would more likely turn to crime and then more likely get sentenced to this one guy's prisons. It was a money-making thing. So that was the main, or the standalone B plot of this episode. And I thought it was great. Again, not terribly original, a little derivative. It's nothing we haven't seen before, but it's the kind of stuff that you should see as an encapsulated B plot or even the A plot on a superhero show or even a criminal justice show that has episodic stories, either by themselves or along serialized elements. And I thought this was a decent plot for Batwoman and crew to fight against. It wasn't this crazy Alice Island thing. And they don't have to carry it through more than one episode. It suffices on itself. They found out what was happening. They stopped the guys, and that was it. Next week, we'll have the Black Mask thing still, which is good. And we'll have maybe a new standalone B plot. This is what they should be doing. And this episode was great, too, for what they didn't do. They didn't have any anti-cop stuff. They didn't have any stuff about race. They, I guess, did have slight political messaging about for-profit prisons and how those are bad. But again, that's nothing new. That's something that they've done on, other police procedural dramas. And that has been the subject of, I guess you could say, commentary within the story on other shows. And that's what TV is supposed to do. It's one of the things TV is supposed to do. It's supposed to do other things, offer mindless entertainment as well. But one of the things it's supposed to do is offer a reflection on the world we all live in and make people think about stuff. At least that's what good TV does. And they didn't break new ground here. They didn't reinvent the wheel, but they talked about a subject that's important. And I thought it made a good plot for a superhero show. It wasn't this crazy stuff. It wasn't a woke thing. It's just a standard plot for a police procedural or superhero show, where the focus is the city they live in. So I thought it was great. Further down the episode, we end up seeing a conversation between Mary and the father where he kind of realizes, okay, I should support my kid more. I don't want to have another kid that I lose, either to crazy or to dead. So I'm going to go find her and try to support her. And in doing that, he's like, well, I want to help you make your clinic go legit. She's like, no, you don't understand. I don't want to do that because then that makes me beholden to insurance companies. It makes me beholden to having to report people who are engaged in criminal activity. And that's not how I want to help people. I want to be able to do it underground and actually help people and maybe not send them through the prison industrial complex or the rehab, industrial complex. And I thought that was good. Some people might whine and say, oh, it's social commentary. They're commenting on, we should have socialized medicine or we need Robin Hoods to break the rules and stuff. But it's a superhero show. That's the whole point. And I just thought it was a good plot point. I think it's good that she wants to do this thing. And again, it's not something we've never seen before. It's been done on other shows and in films where you have, but it's usually the bad guys. It's where they have like a mob doctor, This is the opposite of that. And I just thought it was a good character thing for her. So we'll have to see where it goes. I think her mission is a good mission, and I think the character is developing nicely. It also comes out in this episode through the plot about the community centers and so forth that are being attacked by these people that were trying to make money off the prison system, that Ryan is going to be a martial arts teacher in the community. She's going to volunteer. And I think that's great because it adds dimension to her character. She runs the bar. She's going to do this teaching thing. She's also Batwoman. So it just gives her character dimension. There was none of that with Kate until the character was quote unquote killed off. And they ran that article about her in some Gotham paper that was talked about in the early part of season 2. She had no dimension that I recall in season 1. So they're giving this character dimension. And I think that's a good thing because a lot of people have been talking about how the character plays the victim card and the character was a criminal and she's stole the suit and this and that. And in this episode there was no victimhood. She didn't play the victim card. She did a good job. She didn't play the race card. She didn't sing woe is me. And she's going to teach martial arts. She's contributing to the community. So I just think it's great character development. And I think it's good that they're doing this work to sort of combat these. I don't know why they're doing it, if it's in response to people's complaints or what. I'm certain that happens in TV, but whatever the reason, they're doing this, and hopefully it'll push back some of the naysayers who say that this character is shit, because it isn't. Now, in the previous episode, Angelique, Ryan's ex-girlfriend, had taken the rap for the murder of the police commissioner because she was told that if she didn't, Black Mask would go after Ryan. And she doesn't want that to happen, so she took the rap. In this episode, Ryan spends some time convincing her to come forward and say, that wasn't true. I can give you evidence. If you let me out on bail, I'll cooperate. And so she gets out on those terms. But of course, she gets grabbed, which sucks. Of course, Ryan is not happy about this at all. And I thought to myself, again, this is a good plot development. It's a good story point. Why? Because it's what they do on these shows. Lois Lane is always in trouble. Jimmy Olsen is always in trouble. Mary Jane Watts is in trouble in the Spider-Man movies and the comics. With the Flash, it's Iris. It was in the comics. This is what superhero shows do. The significant other is imperiled occasionally by the bad guys. This is a superhero show thing. So they're doing that, and it's good because that means they're not doing crazy Alice stuff. Now, Alice was in the episode, but I found her very sympathetic. I've found her to be very sympathetic the whole time, really, even in season 1. And again, the actress does a great job with the character. I like the character. And in this episode, she comes off very sympathetic because she's messed up. And she knows she's messed up. And she's trying to put it to bed. She's trying to do something about it. She wasn't up to no good in this episode. So I think that's a good sign. I wouldn't even be surprised if down the road they straighten her out and put her on Team Batwoman. That's what I'd love to see them do with this character. So I don't know, but it seems like she's trying to forget her father so that she can forget her pain. So I don't know how well that's going to go. I suspect that it won't go well, but I'm not convinced that they can't turn her completely around and put her on Team Batwoman. That would be awesome. So I really hope that's what they do. Now, we didn't see anything with Kate in this episode, but we know it's coming, and I'm kind of dreading it because I thought this episode was good. They didn't do any crazy, foolish stuff, but then when they bring Kate in, eventually, next week, the week after, they're going to be doing the crazy stuff. Well, it's Kate, and she had her face altered, and I'm not looking forward to that. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot with that, but maybe I'll be surprised. I just thought this was a good episode. I thought they did some good stuff, and I hope these are the episodes that they keep doing. I've been saying that all season in blocks. The first few episodes were good, then they had a couple of bad ones. The next couple episodes were good, they had a bunch of bad ones. Now this one was good. Let's see. I mean, I guess we're only 9 episodes in. I may have overstated it, but this is 9 or 10 episodes in now, and it's been good episodes, couple of bad. Good episodes, couple of bad. I'm hoping that as we go along and get to 20 episodes, there are fewer and fewer bad ones. So we'll see. But this Kate thing does not bode well for that to happen, but we'll have to see. But next week, new episode. I'll be back with a review. Until then, as always, as I depart, I say, peace and long life.